So I think we are going to jump in and start. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. We're so excited after a long time in coming to have a kickoff of the EV Smart Minnesota Cities program, and for all of you to join us. I'm super excited to have you here today. It is actually February 28th, and so happy to have you here. As per the usual, as you know, if you've been part of these shenanigans in the past, we like to do intros and an icebreaker. And we really like to get to know each other, especially because we're going to be on this journey together for a while. So it's nice to put a name and a face together and get to know you a little bit. So we'll put in the chat the icebreaker. First, here's the agenda. And then when we do that, when we're ready to do the introductions, then we will not share the slideshow and just have our faces and cameras on. So we'll do this welcome. We'll do some introductions of the GPI team, the EV Smart participants. We really want you to get to know each other a little bit. Understanding we're gonna do some polling to try to kind of see where different folks are coming from. You're from all over the state and have different priorities, needs, community sizes, capacities, all of that. So we're really interested to hear kind of what's important to you. So that'll be fun. We're gonna go do some overview. We're really just doing this as an orientation and a level set for the program, overview of the framework and the certification. My colleague Rebecca will lead that, and then talk about the kind of program timeline, and then do some question and answer. So the Great Plains Institute team, I'll go first. My name is Diana McEwen. I direct the Metro Region of CERTs, the Clean Energy Research Teams at the Great Plains Institute. And then Lindsay, why don't you go ahead and go?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay Stauner. I am a program associate at Great Plains Institute, and I am here to support this awesome program we have kicking off.
Awesome. Jessica?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Heinck. I am a senior program manager with the Great Plains Institute. I have a special focus in transportation planning, and happy to be here to support the program and meet you all.
She's the brains behind the operation, just so you know, in case that, just want to make sure you guys know that. Alejandro.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alejandro Knoxville. I'm a sustainability project coordinator with the Climate Impact Corps of AmeriCorps, currently serving at the Great Plains Institute.
You get the award for the longest title. Okay, Rebecca.
And I hope, and last but not least, I'm Rebecca Heisel, and I am a program coordinator here to help out with this program, and excited to be here.
Rebecca's the one that holds it all together. So I'm just showing you the roles. Rebecca and Lindsay like help the trains run. So super exciting. We were really excited to have so many cities interested in participating. We hope to bring you lots of value over the next year as we work together in different ways. And we just thought it was really important to show the breadth of the spread of the communities. And so we've got the statewide, so you can see that. But then, of course, as most maps have, we do a little inset for the metro so that you can see the spread in the metro region, because there's obviously a number of cities in the metro as well. And the colors indicate different aspects. So the blue cities are the ones that are in the heavy duty, if you will, or the regular program. And then the purple cities are in the light duty. We wanted to help as many cities as possible. And so we, first I push my staff a lot about, to see their limit, right? And then when we realized we only had a capacity to do technical assistance for a certain number of cities, we realized that there were others, cities could join for the webinars and all the things that we didn't have a capacity constraint for. So then we created this light duty program where you could come to the webinars and have the interaction with the other cities and peers, but not get the one-on-one technical assistance meetings. And we tried to prioritize cities for the full program that were just starting out, were smaller, had less capacity, and so on. Oh, the green, are those the cities that are light duty, but are on the waiting list? So because we understand how things work, we invited a number of cities to participate. Not all cities, we already found out a couple cities are, even though they expressed interest, are not going to be able to participate in the full program. So we will then move up folks. We identified some cities to be on the waiting list. So then if you would move into the full program, you were on the light duty but on the waiting list, so that you could move into the full program when and if other cities couldn't participate, if that makes sense. Good question. I think that's all. Okay, so now here, and I think these are all the participants from which we've received a commitment letter or the self-assessment, or we know it's coming like in the next day or two because of council meetings and things, right, Rebecca?
Oops, yeah, sorry, I was having trouble finding my mute button there. I'm sharing my screen and a bunch of stuff, but yes.
And these are just the full program participants. Yes. Yeah. And here's the light. I just want to make sure light duty participants. Again, that's where you're coming to all of the, you can attend all of the webinars and office hours and things that we'll have for the group, but won't get that one-on-one assistance. And it's not like we won't answer your questions. Of course we will. What we're saying is the time intensity of the one-on-one is harder, but I would suggest for you, the way to deal with that is to come to office hours with your questions, where you will get technical assistance from our staff people in those office hours. So a little cheater way to get what you need there. So a plug for the office hours. All right. Okay. Now is the time where we do introductions. Please, as you're able, I know not everybody has bandwidth. We're all over the state. We understand that or don't have cameras, etc. And unable to unmute, etc. So if you cannot do that, then you can chat your information into the chat. But we really want you to talk about say your name and the city. And then we had another prompt. Is that for this next part? Okay. So name and city. So we'll just go briefly. So we'll stop sharing. We'll see everybody's face. It's easy. It's just your name and your city. You can do it without the screen in front of you. Even I can do that. I will call on people. It's just easier that way. So Michelle Peterson from Lanesboro.
I think you just said it. I'm Michelle Peterson. I'm with the city of Lanesboro.
Okay, John Paulson.
John Paulson with the city of Hutchinson.
Noelle Bakken.
Noelle Bakken, city of Roseville.
Perfect. Peyton.
Peyton Mastero, city of Dilworth.
Perfect. Matthias.
Matthias Huey, city of Faribault.
Perfect. Lexi.
Lexi Wahi, city of Champlin.
Hannah.
Hey, Hannah Lynch, city of Falcon Heights.
Perfect. John Howard.
Hello, John Howard, city of Winona.
Perfect. And I'll just stop for 1 second and say that the whole world knows that Winona joined because there was an article about it. Nice job, Winona. Kayla.
Hi, Kayla Kurtz with the city of Robbinsdale.
Perfect. Annie.
Hi, Annie Pator, city of St. Louis Park.
Bill.
Bill Dirk, city of Little Canada.
Yay. Allie.
Allie Sutherland, city of Inver Grove Heights.
Great. Tim Pratt.
Tim Pratt, city of Brooklyn Park.
Joe Fox.
Hello, I'm Joe Fox from the city of Cottage Grove.
Jason.
Jason Ludwigson, city of the Crescent.
Perfect. Dave Wanberg.
Dave Wanberg, city of Faribault.
Heidi.
There you go. I'm Heidi Quinn with the city of Woodbury.
All right. Rachel.
Rachel Lindholm, city of Richfield.
Carolyn.
Hi, Caroline McFadden, city of Burnsville.
Lauren.
Hi, Lauren Jensen, City of Rochester.
Patrick.
Patrick Antonin, City of Circle Pines.
It's good to see you. It's been forever.
Yeah.
Mike.
And Mike Sagna, City of Lake Lillian.
Perfect. Jen Fierce.
Hey everybody, Jen Fierce, City of Eden Prairie.
Great. Matt.
Matt Wegworth, City of Grand Rapids.
Awesome. Anna.
Hi everyone, Anna De La Torre, City of St. Paul.
Perfect. Okay, Paul.
Hello, everyone. I'm Paul. I'm the City of Lakeville.
Great. Scott.
Scott Graby, City of Staples.
Is it Daniil?
Yeah, I'm Daniil Thorstensen from the City of Faribault.
Okay, I got it right. I feel like I just won Tuesday here. Okay, now that people are turning their cameras off, I'm losing track as they move around. So did we do Paul? Okay, let me see. Krista.
Hi, Krista Billerbeck with the City of Shoreview.
Mike Sagnas. Did we do Mike?
You did do Mike Sagnas from Lake
I'm
Lillian.
sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. No problem.
When you take your cameras off, it's hard for me. Okay, so I think it's Kay Ashfeld. You just came off mute.
Ken Ashfeld at Maple Grove.
Perfect. Let's see. Cora.
Hi, I'm Cora. I'm contracted in the City of Kenyon through CETA.
Great. Jason. Did we do Jason? I'm sorry. It was hard.
Yes, you did.
Oh, I meant the other Jason, Jason Ewell.
I believe Jason doesn't have microphone access, but he is also from the City of Shoreview.
Perfect, thank you. How about Olivia?
Olivia Dorohavan, City of Coon Rapids.
Connie.
I'm Connie Talon with the City of White Bear Lake.
Chandra.
Chandra Peterson, City of Circle Pines.
Nice to see you. Let's see, D. Curley. Okay, Mars. Sorry, I'm not looking at the chat because I'm looking at the cameras.
Mars also put their introduction in the chat.
Perfect. Anybody I didn't call on?
Kaylin Clement, City of Venice Heights.
Thank you. We went from 29 when I started to 43. That's pretty incredible. I'm excited that so many people are here. That means we might have created something you wanted. Okay, that's always a good thing. So thank you so much for being here. Let's go back to the PowerPoint, I think. Okay, we're gonna do the icebreaker, but we really, we wanna record some of this stuff and just like have it. So it's pretty easy if you've ever been in meetings with me. I love to use Mentimeter. It's simply www.menti.com. And then there's a code. Somebody will put it into the chat. You go there, you put the code in, and we're going to have a couple of different Mentimeter questions just to kind of get to know you instead of going individually. We want to do the introductions, but it's hard to then spend more time asking some other questions. It can take longer. So we thought this was the best way to do it. So just go ahead and go to the Menti and we will, put it up on the screen. So as you answer the question, it will show up there and we get to watch it scroll.
And the code is, I apologize, I think there was an error in when I was typing it in. It's 27038573.
Yeah, great.
Looks like people are doing little thumbs up, so we know that they're in, which is great.
Oh yeah, That's new, isn't it, Rebecca? I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think they recently added that as a capability, which is fun.
Oh. All right, so
What was that code again?
27038573. It's up at the top two of the
Oh,
screen.
okay. Yeah, I see that. I thought you said there was a correction. Sorry.
there was a typo in the chat. It's all good. So what's on there? So this is really helpful. And again, instead of us furiously taking notes as you share with us what action you might have already taken, we wanted to have it recorded with, so then you can put it here. And also for others to see, like, what is the breadth and depth of things that other communities that are part of this cohort doing? What have they done? And so it's interesting to see, we'll see a lot of like installed a public charger. Probably there's, some fleet analysis, none yet. I mean, it's totally okay. That's what we're here for, right? We're here for that. None yet, NA, we're here for you. So, and the really cool thing is then you can see and talk to other cities that have started their journey and find out in retrospect, where would they maybe have started it, if they did it all over again? Or what would they the piece of information they wish another city would have told them? Like, those are the kinds of things that we really hope for you to get from each other. So this is going to be really helpful, and our team will take all of this and then we'll, get this back out to you so you can see, like, 10 cities have done this and, 5 cities have done this, or whatever it might be. So you can have a sense of that too. And it might, perhaps help you as we get to the part after you've done your self-assessment, where we start working with you to help kind of prioritize those actions. It's a give and take. I mean, we'll make some suggestions, but obviously if your community has a particular thing that they really want to start with, that you get to decide that. That's the beauty. And so then you could look at this and go, wow, every single city has done this. That seems like a good place to start. Looks like fleet analysis is a really good place to start, because that's, then going to help us identify vehicles we can change out. And actually that saves the city money, which cities like. So, this is super duper helpful. We are getting so much more than I thought we would. This is awesome. Thank you. We'll just do another 30 seconds and then move on, I think.
Diana, I saw one that I liked that said they've researched what other cities have done, which is great.
That is great. And we have a number of tools like that. We've done some of that landscape viewing on ordinances. Actually, we did it in 2019. We're currently, I think, finalizing, working on for sure an update of those ordinances, because a lot of ordinances have happened in the last few years, because it turns out EVs are all the rage. Great. So let's move to the next question. So now taking, kind of like, I'm really chronological. So I want to know, what did you do in the past? What are you excited to learn about? Like, what is the thing you really want to learn about as part of this for yourself or for your city? So not necessarily the action your city wants to take. What do you want to learn about? Because this will really, like, no secrets here. We're transparent. This will help us figure out what kinds of topics and speakers and things to have at the webinars. We want always for this to be directed by you. We have thoughts and ideas about things that will be useful to share, speakers, etc. But we want this to be, directed by you. Like, what is it that you need? And we really attempt to be as nimble as possible to maneuver and capture what's important at the moment. Sometimes there's a pivot that happens. And I'll just say out loud to the handful of cities from the first cities charging ahead that are on this call, it was 5 years ago in January that we kicked that off. So it feels like a long time ago, and we've accomplished so much together. And for the new cities, there are so many cities on here that have done some things that they can, share and give you feedback and advice and lessons learned about. And so we hope to, share some of that too, because there's a number of cities that have taken quite a few steps. And there's a bunch of cities that have been learning with us for some time, but weren't ready for action. And it feels like they're ready for action now. So this is really great. Yep, outreach of the public, reducing VMT. Yeah, why should a municipal do this work? Absolutely. Grid infrastructure, that is a bigger and bigger topic. V2G, if you've never heard of that, it's a vehicle to grid. There's been a lot of conversation about vehicle to grid, where it's that kind of smart grid where the battery in your car can be utilized to put onto the grid, you know, like it's an exchange back and forth. So there's a lot of conversation about that. Cool. We feel like we're close to there. Yeah, she has changed the slide.
Oh, sorry, I didn't give anyone any warning on that.
That's okay. It's really fine. I think people will be okay. It's not like we're going to stop taking feedback. If there's something you want to share with us that you think is important for us, you know, to share, to, you know, you want to learn, you can email us, you can tweet at us, you can share that. So always a challenge with these kinds of cohorts is deciding on what is the best time of day, if there's such a thing, for these monthly perhaps meetings. I think that's what our plan is. Like monthly we'll have webinars, you know, maybe topical one month and office hours the next month. You know, we'll see how things go, but that's generally what we're thinking. But if there's a way for us to, from the get-go, choose a day or a time of day that works better for you all, that's what we're happy to do. Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. You know, you can always drop things in the chat. We'll capture all of that. So Tuesday afternoons, I mean, that's where we're at right now. So like, this is a good time. Wednesday mornings, oop, it just took the lead. Sorry, I was premature. There's only 15 people that responded, so I'm gonna wait because we really want to get as much input on this as possible. I'm assuming not Saturday mornings then. All right, Wednesday mornings look pretty popular. I'm going to ask a question, and for folks that feel inclined to reply in the chat, when you say Wednesday morning, do you mean like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 11 a.m.? Does it not matter? Just curious. Wednesdays are winning. I mean, in the past, I think with like the Green Step Cities meetings, we always started them at 9 a.m. because it felt like it was easier to start your day versus working for a little bit and then going to a meeting. So yeah, 8 or 9. Yeah, Joe, not everybody works at 8 o'clock. I did suggest 8 o'clock though. 9. Okay. It seems like that's, and I'm glad I asked, because again, we want to do what works for most folks. It looks like 9 a.m. is probably the ideal time to start. So perfect. Super helpful. All right.
That was our last meant meeting question.
Perfect. Thank you so much for participating. It really helps us give you what you want and need. I'm going to turn over the framework and certification to Rebecca.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you all for that good input. So now, as the slide suggests, we're going to be going over the framework and the certification. And while many of you have seen the framework before, I don't want to be repetitive, I do think it is valuable to go over it again, as there have been some minor updates. And also now we're layering on this certification component. And so as I'm going through this, I really want you to be thinking about, you know, how the best practices and actions that we have listed in this framework relate to the work that you're already doing, the work that you would like to do, and even the work that you didn't realize that you probably should be doing. So just kind of keep that in mind as I'm going through this. So the overall framework is the same as many of you have already seen. We have those broad categories listed off to the left, which are planning, regulation, utility engagement, education and incentives, government operations, and shared mobility. And then within those categories, there are 4 to 6 best practices. And each of those best practices then has a series of actions that, that you can take. And as we're thinking about having each of you moving toward being a certified as an EV Smart community, the actions are where you're going to earn those points toward certification. And we've mentioned it before, and I will be covering it more later, but throughout the framework, we've identified areas where equity can and definitely should be incorporated into the actions. And there are additional equity points that you can gain as a result of that. So once again, we kind of have this overwhelming slide picture of the whole of the framework. Each category is listed along the top and has its own column and its own color. And below the categories are the best practices for each category. The actions are not listed here just because this is already too much for one slide and I didn't want it to be overwhelming, but we'll be covering the certification requirements in a bit, and then we'll take a look at a little more in detail about some actions that go along with a couple of these best practices. So this certification piece is something that no one has seen before, so it's new to everyone. Although it may feel similar to some of you because it is in a similar format as the Soul Smart program, if you've heard of it. But within this certification, there are 3 different designations. There's bronze, silver, and gold. Bronze has the lowest threshold for certification and gold has the highest. To receive a bronze certification, we have the requirements listed here, but every community will have to complete 3 prerequisites, which I will cover on the next slide, and earn a total of 60 points. And of those 60 points, 15 of them must be equity points. And so I'll also be discussing the equity points in a bit, but you'll also have to earn bronze certification, earn 20 points in both the regulation and the planning categories. So if you have a total of 60 points, but only 15 points in the planning category, for example, you would need to complete at least a 5-point action within the planning category to earn the bronze designation. To receive a silver designation, all the requirements for bronze must be met, in addition to completing 4 additional prerequisites, and the total points needed for this designation is 100, and of those 100 points, 30 must be equity points. And for gold designation, you would of course need to complete all of the silver designation requirements, complete 2 additional prerequisites, and have a total of 200 points, 70 of which would need to include equity. So that's an overview. I'm not expecting everyone to remember this. This will be sent out. You'll have copies of it, so you don't need to remember it, but that is the overview of the certification requirements. And as I mentioned, there are prerequisites for each designation. So for the bronze designation, many of you have already completed the first 2, which is completing a commitment letter and a self-assessment. And then the last prerequisite for the bronze category or designation, excuse me, is to complete a permitting checklist for charging infrastructure. For silver, the permitting and inspection staff in your community must complete training related to charging infrastructure, and you must define use standards for EVSE, install a public charger, and complete a fleet analysis, which it seems like many communities have already done, which is great to see. And then finally, for gold, you would be required to complete a permit turnaround time so that permits don't take an unnecessarily long time to be approved and act as a barrier. And you would also need to adopt the use standards that you define as a prerequisite for silver. So that's kind of the very brief overview of the certification that you'll be working towards. And so now that we've looked at the overall framework and looked at specifically what will be required to gain those designations for certification, I'm going to dive in just a couple examples of actions that you can take to gain those points. So I really want to make sure that we cover the planning category, because as you might remember, to gain bronze designation, you would need 20 points earned in this category. And I'm going to highlight the actions for that last best practice, which is establish joint deployment and benchmark goals. And this best practice is important because for many funding opportunities, especially through the federal government, they do require that your community has commitments formally written out to qualify for the funding. So some best practices that we have in this category include creating a community-wide EV vision, adopting a preference policy for EVs in your municipal fleet. So that would mean that you will consider purchasing the electric options before the traditional gas-powered options, and developing EV-related goals that are specific, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So those SMART goals that we see. And there are a few others listed here that I'm not going to read out loud, but I do want to draw your attention to some of those actions do have little asterisks next to them. And the actions that have those asterisks indicate that that's an area where you can earn equity points. So for that first action of creating a community-wide EV vision, if that vision properly and adequately addresses how different groups of your community who are often overlooked in the transition to electric, such as low to medium income populations or disabled folks or BIPOC communities, how they will be represented in that vision, then you could earn additional equity points. So moving on to regulation. Regulation is another one of those categories that to earn a bronze designation, you would need to earn 20 points in this category. I will highlight the actions from the third best practice there, which is encourage EVSE in or near to affordable multifamily housing. The actions for this best practice include incentivizing EVSE or EVSE ready. So all the conduit and wiring is laid, except you don't have the actual charging station itself in new affordable multifamily housing. Incorporating utility incentives to multifamily licensing requirements for affordable multifamily buildings, and developing standards for EVSE in public rights of ways or other public areas near affordable multifamily housing. And if you'll notice on this category or on these actions, they all have equity points just because the nature of affordable multifamily housing equity is ingrained. So those are all actions where you could gain those equity points. So I'm going to skip past a couple of slides here pretty quickly. They're just the other categories with some actions listed out, but in the interest of time, I'm going to just keep us moving right along. But don't fear, because I'll get to this once I go through this next slide. There's the shared mobility. We are launching an EV Smart website. And this website will be a place where you can go to see past webinars, including like the recording for this webinar will be hosted there, and find the resources and materials that we develop for this program. And we'll also have this framework that I'm showing you today listed out with all the actions included on that website. So you can find the framework and the actions very easily there. And as soon as it's launched, we will be providing you with the web link to that. But it will just be a really great landing page and kind of a one-stop shop for all of the resources and materials in this program. So the communities that are participating in this full program, as opposed to the light duty program that Diana was talking about earlier, you've already turned in your self-assessments. And so we're taking those self-assessments and we are relating them to the framework in terms of, you know, actions that you've already completed or have yet to complete, or maybe they're in progress. So we're taking all that and we're developing recommended actions for your community to take towards certification. And with each community in the full program, we will meet with you during what we're calling our priority meetings to discuss the recommended actions that we've identified for your community and how those actions fit and align with your community's goals. And so at these meetings, we will provide you with a spreadsheet that will help you track your progress under each category and your progress towards certification. So the graphic off to the right is kind of hard to see. It's pretty small. I apologize for that, but it's the first tab in the spreadsheet that we'll be providing you, and it will help you keep track of the points that you've earned. And along the top, it also has requirements for designation. So that's another place where that will be listed as well. And one note that I do want to make about these priority meetings, I do see that from even on this call, there are a couple people from a single community, and we really encourage you to invite whoever makes sense in your community to the priority meeting. So if you're going to be working with someone closely on this program, it would be good to have them on the call as well. So this is just an example of another tab on this spreadsheet that we will provide you, and we will be going over it in the priority meeting, so don't get overwhelmed by this. I just want to give you a preview of what to expect. And I just mocked up this example for the education and incentives category so that you can get an idea for how your spreadsheet might look when we send it to you. So in this first column, you'll see there's the general points that you can earn for completing an action. And then in the second column, that's where the additional equity points, if applicable for that action, will reside. And then this third column, there's, you can't see it since this is just a static photo, but each cell has a little drop-down list where you can categorize the action by, level of completion, I guess. So the categorized list is here. So you could have, you've done no action at this time, the action is in progress with or without an equity component, or the action is completed with or without an equity component. And then at the top, we have the recommended credit. So that's a credit that we would recommend that you take that action. So the middle column then itself is just a list of the action. And the last column here is the comment. So that's where we'll put the comments that you made in the self-assessment, as well as any additional comments that we have for you about that action. And then on the very right-hand side, this is where your points will be totaled up for that category. And it's broken up into the points that you've completed and the points that you've earned. And then it also allows you to do some forecasting based on recommended actions and actions that are in progress. So you can kind of see, oh, if we do X action, we can gain this many points, and then that would put us over the bar for the silver certification, for example. So as you can see here, just as an example, we're saying for this example community is in progress hosting an informational booth at a city or a community gathering. And it does have, it's this light purple, so it does have an equity component. So when they complete that action, they would gain a total of 10 points. So like I said, don't get too overwhelmed by this. We'll be going over it with you in those individual one-on-one priority meetings. So the light duty program, you will be getting a link to the self-assessment, and we'll also send you that progress tracking spreadsheet that I just sent you. But as Diana kind of mentioned, you're more than welcome to attend those monthly webinars. We just won't be doing the priority meetings with you. And then as I'm finishing up here, our program timeline, as you can see here, we're moving into March. And in March and April, we'll be completing those one-on-one priority meetings, as well as starting the informational webinars. And then as we go forward into the future, we'll be doing alternating informational webinars and priority, office hours. And the end of the program is in about a year from now in March. So just kind of looking towards the future. And my last slide here is you will be receiving a link to sign up for these priority meetings if you're in the full program. It's like if you've used Calendly or Booking, it's where you will select the time slot that works for you, and the meeting will be automatically created. And feel free to share that with whoever in your community, like I said before. And this is just a reminder, if you haven't yet submitted those onboarding materials, please get those to us as soon as possible. All right, so I think that was my last slide. So I will maybe stop sharing my screen, Diana, if that works for you, and we can move on to the Q&A portion.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for that, Rebecca. And again, I want to reiterate what she said, that we're not trying to overwhelm you with all the points and the things and how you do it. We just really wanted to give you an overview so you could see where it's going, and, you know, understand that you'll be able to play with the spreadsheet to, you know, get what you want. But let me just say really clearly, you do not need to seek certification. That is not a requirement of this, of what we're doing with you all. It's great if you pick a couple of best practices and go with that and do that for your community. If you're a community that really wants to seek certification, absolutely great. We're happy to help you with that. But I just don't want anybody to be scared, like, we're not ready to seek certification. That's okay. But you might choose the one or two best practice actions that you decide to do based on understanding the, you know, the matrix of this program and what that would mean and what the points are and where it would fall and for requirements. So it's good to have all that context. So if you wanted to, you could choose that. You also can just say, yeah, that's okay. This is what we want to do, no matter where it fits in or how many points or, you know, etc. So I just want to be super duper clear about that. And so now, though, it's time for question and answer. We really just want to make sure that you have some opportunity to ask questions. So here we are. Folks have questions. You can put it in the chat. You can raise your hand. You can come off mute. I mean, I monitor the Zoom room, so I'm looking for, you know, faces, people unmuting, all of that.
I had a question. I'm Joe.
Hi, Joe. And then we'll do Mike after that.
So I guess my question was, so this program only goes for a year. That's and so after that, is there anything? I guess I'm just trying to sort of focus on what I can tell the other people in the city if there's the possibility of like a sign on the highway that we can put up like we do with Green Steps, or how that works.
Yeah. The signs were so much more popular for Green Step than we ever thought. If for folks that don't know, I was at the very beginning, helped create that program, and we were like, yeah, what about signs? They're like, oh, they have tree USA, they might not want them, but people love the signs. So what I will say is we are continually fundraising to raise money to support this effort beyond what we have right now in funding for doing this work. And that's both kind of here in the state in Minnesota, and then my colleague Jessica especially is leading some efforts nationally, like putting this program together as for the national program. I mean, what we're presenting to you is what is the draft for a national program. I mean, you all are helping beta test, and some of you already did in Cities Charging Ahead 2.0. That was how, you know, a lot of the work and things came from that effort, and it just keeps, you know, kind of moving along. And so, and there's fundraising at the national level to provide for this program. And then, you know, not unlike Soul Smart, the hope would be that with a national EV Smart program, there would be folks that would help do recruitment and folks that would help do technical assistance. That is the hope, you know, and so, and I think we're committed to providing support to cities beyond next March. Our capacity is dependent upon our ability to secure funding and capacity to do that work. But as you know, because we've been around for, you know, doing this work for 5 years, we're committed to it. And we feel like we have a really good, you know, we really like working with cities, and we have a lot of experience and such. So that was a long answer. Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Yes, has your approach to the program changed since the president announced that new charger network build out program nationally?
No, because the national, you know, the NEVI stuff, that's about EV charging, generally corridors to get across the country.
Right.
We're more focused on stuff in communities.
Okay.
Actual communities.
But some communities are left out of that network, so it's very important for us to plug in to EVs and the growth. And that's one of our motivations, that you feel we're in the middle of nowhere, you might say, in terms of the corridors. All right. So we got to try to capture some of that growth in terms of EVs. And I'm looking forward to the SMART program giving us that opportunity. So
you are absolutely right. And it's a slow build out process. You know, they're focusing on what are called alternative fuel corridors right now, which each state has them designated. In Minnesota, it's just 35 and 94. Right. But then they will go after that. Once they've spent that money, then they could go to different entities. And the state knows that 90 is a really important one, and then there's a number of trunk highways and things that are really essential. And there's, you know, we've got that going on, but then we also have the Volkswagen settlement dollars, like today, I think at 4 o'clock or something like that. Our applications are due for the Volkswagen funded level 2 chargers, so that's a part of it. But yes, we are, you know, if that is an important interest for you as a community, like, it's important for us to figure out how to get a fast charger in our community, because that's what's going to be essential. And the city can't probably afford it, but so one of the things we work with and talk about is what are the partnership opportunities with a utility, with a business district, with a, you know, whatever it might be. So we will help you think through that. Absolutely. Good question, Mike.
That DC charger program, though, in terms of grants, that's sort of, I'm not sure where it's going. Any word on that?
Well, I mean, there's not really.
There were level 2 programs out there for grants.
Yes.
But the fast chargers.
No, because the DC fast chargers, they run between like $40 and $100 and something $1,000.
Correct.
They're much more expensive. So we're seeing those more on the corridors and highways. Some communities may, you know, put them in, and as time goes on and we see a bigger percentage of electric vehicles as the mix for vehicles, we're going to need more of those in communities. Generally now, the level 2s are working for in communities, but if you're in a greater Minnesota community, it's going to be more important for you to have that because you're driving further. Like there's a whole, so we definitely hear that and want to help you think about that and figure out how to have other people pay for it.
All right. Thank you.
We had a question in the chat from Mars. Will light duty participants receive the recommended actions without the one-on-one meeting or just the spreadsheet template?
That's Rebecca.
Yeah, great question, Mars. I think that we will provide some recommendations with some comments off to the sides in addition to just having the spreadsheet. We just wouldn't have that meeting to talk with you to discuss how it aligns with what your goals are for the community.
But there will be those sessions where you can come in and ask questions to give another plug for that.
Yes, Jessica, great plug for the office hours.
They're useful, use them. It's easier, and as you can imagine, we pushed our staff to the limits to, you know, when I asked of Rebecca initially, because she's the workhorse in this team, how many cities she could do the priority meetings for, she said 20 to 25. We are doing 34. So, you know, while you can email us, it would be really preferable if you could make the time to try to come to the office hours so we could have more people here. Because if you have the question, generally somebody else is going to have the question. We can talk through that. It's going to be, you know, better for our capacity and time to do it at those office hours. Not that you can't email us, but I hear, you know what I'm saying. It would be really much better for us if you could participate in those. That's why we're creating that space. Other questions? Can you, oh, yep, Heidi. Yep. Other questions? You must have other questions. I'm so excited that so many of you are here. Can you do me a favor? If you're a city that participated in cities charging ahead 1 or 2, will you do a thumbs up on your screen? I just want for people to see who the cities that have participated in one or the other or both. Awesome. Yeah, we had a bunch of cities that participated in the past, and it's exciting to see so many new cities. You know, that was what we were aiming for. Other questions? Anything else that we have forgotten? We're a team here. You see all of us that we have forgotten to say.
One thing that I just would really like to reiterate about this is like, we're here to help you and support you. But also some of this will need to be like work that you are committing to completing on your own time. Because we can provide you with the information and the resources, but a lot of the work will need to be done on your end. So we appreciate that ahead of time.
Yeah, thank you for that. And people have asked us, like, what's the time commitment? And it's really hard to say. So what I've said is between 1 to 2 hours a month and 5 hours a month. It depends on what time you spend doing this. I would suggest if you're part of the program that you know, you put in some time so that you get the full benefit. If you're, you know, don't have time to kind of participate and do the things, it's going to be hard for us to give feedback and help. So it really depends. I mean, with us, it's probably going to be in that hour frame because we're going to do these webinars, and maybe we'll have individual. If you've got a priority meeting, you might have 2 hours in a month. But the rest of that is really about your own time, talking to other staff people, getting bids, thinking about an RFP for fleet, you know, whatever it might be. It's going to be, you know, work that you're going to need to do in your community and with your city staff team.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, it's also you know, this shouldn't all fall on to just your shoulders, because you have staff in your communities that specialize in planning and in regulation. You might have a fleet manager, and so feel free to invite them to appropriate webinars and get them involved early so that there's less work for you to do and you can spread it out and maybe go for one of those certifications.
That's right. I mean, you know, probably not shocking to the people that know me, but I want Minnesota to win on the certificate, how many cities get certified. I mean, I think we've stepped into this space earlier than a lot of other states have, and which is unusual in particular because we're considered flyover and not relevant in the EV space. It's been the coasts that have zero emission rules and regulations and things that have gotten the attention, have gotten more vehicles from the dealerships, you know, doing more policy, doing more things. So we're really kind of lifting up the center of the country here with the work that we're doing. And I'm so proud of working with all of you for the last 5 years. I can't believe it's been 5 years. So it's really exciting to be at this point and, you know, continue that journey. I mean, it really started with, hey, do you think 4 or 6 cities would want to come together and learn some stuff about EVs and figure out how to act together to, you know, a program that we're helping shape that's going to be national. It's a big deal. I know, you know, we like the humble brag in Minnesota. So anything else? Other questions? We are so excited to work with you and to launch this. As some of you may know, we wrote the original proposal for this funding in December of 2020, and we got our contract in September of 22. So it's been a long time coming, and so we're just really excited to be at this moment. And with especially the atmosphere over the past year plus of federal incentives and funding and things coming down the pike, we hope to be here to help you capture that. That is one of the big things that we can do, is help you capture what's coming down the pike. Yeah, and work with each other and connect to each other. So thank you all. I think that's it. I mean, I don't think anybody's mad at getting 4 minutes back. Rebecca, last word.
Yep, I'm just going to share my screen one more time really quickly. It has all of our emails on there. You should have most of ours already, but just as a reminder, we will be sending out a follow-up email to this with the recording and our emails. So if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.